TBTL.
Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Hey Dummies. I'm Andrew. I'll be your dummy today. As you can see, I'm in the car right now. I'm out and about, as I like to say, and don't worry, I'm doing this very safely. I've got both hands on the wheel, eyes on the road. I bought a special doohickey to hold my phone so that I can talk to you and drive at the same time. We're being very, very safe here. Don't worry about it. I'm actually on my way to pick up Genevieve right now and figured I would take this moment to chat with y'all. I actually have a question from a listener today. It's from listener Russell. I had to memorize it because, of course, I can't read and drive at the same time. Let's face it, I can barely read and read at the same time. But Russell wanted to know, what is some of the best advice I've ever received? And he even went on to say it could be professional advice, personal advice, relationship advice. And as I say with most of these types of questions, I mean, that's a real toughie, right? I've lived for 47 years. I'm sure I've received a lot of advice during that time. But I guess the first thing that sprung to mind was actually some professional advice I received from kind of two different sources, but around the same period of my professional career. And that was when I was a radio producer working in New Hampshire at New Hampshire Public Radio. And I'll just fix the camera there a little bit, but don't worry, we're still being very safe while we drive. But I realized that this purchase might have been a mistake, honestly. This little camera holder is not gonna, I think, do the trick for the long run, but hopefully we'll get through this video. Anyway, I was a producer at New Hampshire Public Radio, and I had already worked on a couple of pretty standard local public radio shows at this time, and I was tasked by my boss, who I liked a lot and had a lot of respect for. His name was Mike Arnold. We've talked about him on the show before. He's still in the biz. I was tasked by Mike to launch a new midday public radio show. I don't know how much detail we need to get into here, but public radio traditionally has had sort of an issue with ratings on the local level in the middle of the day. Obviously, you have your morning editions in the morning, which get good ratings, and your All Things Considered is in the afternoon, and the weekends have all the weekend programming. But the middle of the day has been a bit of a conundrum for public radio programmers for quite some time now. I assume that's still the case. It certainly was in the early to mid 2000s when I was working on the case. And so we were going to launch a new show in the middle of the day on New Hampshire Public Radio, and my boss, Mike Arnold at the time, gave me this advice: stop listening to so much public radio. I don't know if he actually put it like that. Maybe he said, don't just listen exclusively to public radio, which is mostly what I was doing at that time. Nowadays, I almost exclusively listen to AM radio, so things have changed quite a bit. But at the time, I was just a total P1 for public radio, as we say in the biz. It was basically the only thing I listened to. And Mike was saying, hey, listen, we have an opportunity here to try something new, to record something with maybe a slightly different sound that still has all of the things we love about public radio, but maybe doesn't fall into all the same traps of traditional public radio. The maybe somewhat, I don't know, somewhat stifled nature of it, without being too rude. And so Mike came into work one day with like a bunch of CDs that he burned of old commercial radio shows. Is it Steve Dahl was the famous Chicago like 70s and 80s shock jock guy, and he wanted me to listen to him, and he just wanted me to expand my boundaries a little bit. And I'm so glad he gave me that advice. It was like, I don't know if you've heard today's episode of the podcast yet, but we asked our colleague John Sklaroff to eat a bunch of Doritos on the show so we could test some new technology out. And it was the kind of assignment that John really took to. He likes eating Doritos, and I'll tell you what, love what you do and you never work a day in your life. And so this was like that for me. I had a boss who loved radio and wanted to expand my boundaries a little bit by listening to things that were more lowbrow than the stuff I was already listening to. So I loved that. And it was also around that same time that, again, we're getting ready to launch this show. and I'm blanking on this fella's name, but I had a phone call with a program director who was the PD of WNYC in New York at the time, and he's kind of a bigwig in public radio circles. I'm embarrassed that I'm blanking on his name right now, but I was excited to have, you know, a half hour of his time just to chat about what we were working on, what we hope to accomplish with this radio show, and to give it a feel that was maybe more of a, I don't know, maybe more of a lively feel than what we were hearing in a lot of public radio shows like what we were doing. And I remember him saying to me, and I believe he said he got this advice from working in commercial radio before he moved to WNYC, which is like, always make the listener feel like you never had a chance to get to everything. Like, make it, and I think Luke used to say this on TBTL a lot, we have like 5 pounds of content in a 1 pound sack or something like that. And that is the type of thing that this guy was trying to convince me to keep in mind while we were like programming something that felt immediate, and like, we have so much good stuff for you and we're never going to get to it all. Like, make the listener feel like you always had to leave something on the table, because boy, this thing just really keeps on falling. I think I started fixing this subconsciously. I didn't realize how many times I've been disturbing your viewing as this camera bounces up and down. So sorry if that's been annoying, but that's something that I think about a lot. And maybe that's ironic because Luke and I will talk and meander for, like, we had a show this week that went for almost 2 hours, and certainly could have maybe we could have cut back on some of that and made it feel like we were leaving something on the table. But it was something that really stuck with me, as far as like making the listener feel like there's so much good stuff here that we couldn't even get to it all. So before I adjust the camera one more time and annoy you all, I think I'll just leave it there for now. I think I got to do this because I think the dang thing is going to fall down. I just spent company money on this little tripod for my camera, and it is not working out so well. So sorry, John Sklaroff. I will be sending you the receipt as soon as I get home. Everybody, if you want to send me a question, email me, andrew@tbtl.net. It can be for me or Luke, and it can be about anything, personal, professional, whatever you like, and we will answer them. Please, andrew@tbtl.net. Put "Hey Dummies" in the subject line, and we will get to it. Now I got to cross the most difficult intersection in the neighborhood, so we should leave it here. Bye, everybody.